Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Core Class Arcee from the Transformers Studio series from Hasbro. And this is Arcee as she appears in the upcoming film Transformers Rise of the Beasts that comes out later this summer. So she is a little bit on the smaller side. They did say in one of the more recent streams that they made her Studio Series Core Class because that way she would scale more with the other Studio Series figures. So I guess she is going to be a smaller character in the movie. Very similar to how they did Rat Trap in Core Class during Kingdom, because that was like an appropriate scale for him to the others. So I don't think there's going to be a Deluxe or Voyager Class Arcee anytime soon. I think she is sticking with just the Core Class. But we have some nice artwork here on top of the flap here. A little bit of a peek at her robot mode in the movie. And then we see a little close-up there of the head on the side. And then kind of a wider shot here on this side. Not really too much going on the bottom. Top just has the Rise of the Beast logo there. And then spinning it around to the back, we have some product shots for the robot mode and the motorcycle mode. So pretty standard packaging for Core Class Studio Series, but I think it looks pretty sharp. I'm going to go ahead, get her out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. So here's Arcee out of the packaging. She's okay. I mean, she's not the best Core Class figure. She's not the worst. She's got a lot of kibble here on the back, as you can see, these two big wheels down here on the back of the legs. And then you have this section here, which is kind of like the handlebars and the rear view mirrors and the windshield of the front of the bike. And this wheel piece here, and that just kind of moves around. It's supposed to just be pushed up against the back as much as possible, but doesn't peg in or anything like that. I will say I think the head sculpt looks pretty good. I do like that quite a bit. Some nice detail there. The eyes are pretty nicely painted. The head and the face is nicely painted. I will say she has a very Elita 1 color scheme. So you have that kind of like reddish orange, and then you have like the peach color as well. But it works. So when you first get her in the packaging, she is turned to the side. This is actually not attached. This comes separately in a little bag that you just plug it right in there. And then these are kind of all the way out to the side like this. They have a little catch. There's kind of like this little tab here that when you go ahead and pop these in, you'll kind of hear just like a soft little click. And that's kind of clicking into this section here, kind of like the wheel guard. So when you push that up, it's just a very soft little click, just to let you know that can go all the way that far up and then it's in place. Articulation-wise, head is on a ball joint, so you have very minimal front to back. It's mostly just side to side. But I believe it is a ball joint. I was trying to figure out... Yeah, there we go. Now we can get the front and back. So she has these weird little tabs on the side of her head, and I don't really know what those are for. Because I don't really think they come into play in vehicle mode, but maybe I'm wrong. You have a hinge here for the arm, but that's really more for transformation. But if you want to utilize it in robot mode, you absolutely can. Then you have a ball joint here for the shoulder. You have a ball joint down here for the elbow. From the forearm to the hand, that's all one solid piece. You do have a waist swivel, but there's a lot of kibble in the way, so you're not really going to utilize it too much. You have a ball joint here for the hip. And then you have kind of a weird joint here for the knee because of the way it transforms. So you have a standard hinge here, but of course this wheel is going to hit into this and there's not really anything you can do about that. I was hoping that like when you take this off, that maybe it almost looks like this could peg into that. Like if this could have gone all the way up, like maybe put a little extra hinge here, if that could have gone all the way up and just pegged onto the back up here. I feel like that would have been a much better idea, but... I get that it's a core class, so there's only so much budget for engineering, but that pretty much negates any kind of knee movement. But you have this weird joint here in the shin for transformation, so you can kind of do like a weird shin kick, which looks very unnatural, but you can certainly do it. Now, if you bring the leg out, obviously, then you can utilize that knee a little bit better, but it's still going to hit into the back of the leg. So these wheels are pretty giant and in the way quite a bit, honestly. There's not much you can do about it, but just in robot mode, I think she looks all right. She just has a lot of kibble, but from the front, I think she actually looks pretty good. She does come with one little accessory. She has this weird kind of blaster piece that pegs into the fist, just like that. I think it's supposed to look like the arm transformed into the blaster, so I'm not really sure why they didn't mold it out of red, but it must have been on the same sprue as the wheel pieces. That's why it's in black. Yeah, it's alright. There's not really much to it. But these pieces on the side here, you might be asking why they're there. They actually kind of act as kickstands in the vehicle mode for the weapon storage. So that's kind of neat, but they don't work all that well. We'll get there in a minute. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's get into transformation. All right, so the first thing to do is grab the head, and the entire neck section will pop out of the chest. So you can see it kind of, this whole piece just kind of comes forward. It looks really weird. The first time you do it, it feels like you're going to break something, but just be careful with it. That whole piece does rotate out. So now what you want to do is bring the arms up, and this can get a little difficult. So you have this tab here, which is going to kind of rest in there, and then vice versa for these two. This white tab is going to peg in there, and then this kind of has to sit in there, but it's one of those joints where you kind of have to drop it in from up top. So what I like to do is kind of take this one and kind of drop that in up top, and then peg this in and just work your way down. And that actually worked out a lot better than the first time I did it. That actually worked out really great. So that's kind of how that goes. The head's just going to dangle there. You're going to take this and you're going to rotate this 180 degrees, just like that. Then you're going to take the legs and flip them around on the ball joint so that this part here with the slit is facing up, like so. And then you can kind of bring this up and bring these down ever so slightly to clear this, and then this will kind of form the front of the motorcycle, and then you can just rotate that 90 degrees. So you're going to flip out, kind of have to detach and flip out the wheel pieces here for the back of the motorcycle, and then you're going to use those weird shin joints that I talked about to bring those down like that. So that kind of brings down this section and fills that in. And then you're just going to bring these down, straight down like this, and they will peg into each other. So you have to line up the peg holes and the pegs on the inside of the wheel pieces there. But once you do, that just all pegs together like that. And then you can see that there are these pegs right here, and they peg into this little slit here on the arms. So you kind of have to make sure that the head's out of the way, but then this can come up here and kind of peg into the arms to kind of shore that up and make that a little bit more solid. So yeah, this is the bike that you're left with. It's okay. I think it's so weird that her head is just hanging out there and you can really see it. I wish that could, because there's space here. There's space that could have rotated a complete 180 if they would have just figured out a way to do that. But instead, her head just hangs out down there. What can you do? So you can bring that weapon piece back in, and you have these little notches on the side here, right there, and they're going to go on these pieces here. So you kind of pop this in like that. And then, like I said, that's supposed to kind of work as a kickstand, but it doesn't really. I'm trying to see, do I have it in backwards? Do I need to rotate it around? I'm pretty sure that is the way you do it, but I want to see if rotating it the other way will help with the kickstand problem at all. It doesn't really. It's just a little too low, and maybe I have it mistransformed, but it looks like they're supposed to act like kickstands, and they just don't really work. And maybe that's something I made up. Maybe they're not really supposed to be kickstands, and I just assumed that's what they're trying to be. But unfortunately, by the time you can get it down to where that would hit the ground, there's just too much weight, and it just falls completely over. So it's an okay motorcycle mode. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's just kind of okay. I really wish the kickstands would work. I wanted to do some size comparisons real quick, so while I have it in vehicle mode, here is Optimus Prime and Wheelie. So this is like the kind of classic Kingdom Core Class Optimus Prime, and then this is Studio Series Wheelie, and I wish she would stand, but she won't, so we'll lean her up against Wheelie there. So you can see the size difference there. So with Wheelie, I feel like she's significantly bigger in terms of, like, not so much length, but certainly in terms of height. But then if I compare her to, like, Optimus, she's about the same height and about the same length. But obviously he's a little bit more hollow in this area here where she's a little bit filled out there. So I feel like it's pretty standard Core Class for vehicle mode at least. Robot mode wise, here she is with Slug and Skywarp. And then here she is with Deluxe Class Scrap Hook. Now I have him a little bit in a squat pose, so if I make him as tall as he can be, she'll be a little bit shorter in comparison. I don't have any of the mainline or Studio Series of Deluxe Class Rise of the Beast stuff yet, so I had to use Scrap Hook here. But you can see, I mean, if this is going to kind of be the relationship of the characters in the movie, if she's going to be about half the size of, say, Wheeljack and Mirage or Optimus, Bumblebee, I think this would scale pretty well. Core Class Arcee is fine. She's not great. She's not terrible. I do like the robot mode. I think the head sculpt actually looks pretty good. She just has a lot of kibble on the back. All the motorcycle wheel pieces literally just hang on the back there. And that's a bit unfortunate because it does hinder articulation a little bit. The motorcycle mode, again, it's fine. It's not great. It's not amazing. It's not terrible. It's just fine. I mean, it's a Core Class figure, so I'm trying to temper my expectations. But I feel like neither mode is 100% amazing. I mean, we've had Core Class figures that I feel like definitely have better articulation and better alt modes than this one does. But again, she's fine. If you want to make sure you get all the characters from the new movie, go ahead and add her to your collection. I think she's fine. You just have to, you know, kind of temper your expectations a little bit when you pick this one up. I do like the color scheme. Like I said, I like the head sculpt. She has decent articulation. It's just really hindered by those giant wheel pieces hanging off the back. If you want, you can kind of take this wheel piece off and get slightly more out of this piece here on the back to just a little bit higher up to get it out of the way. I really kind of wish there was maybe an extra hinge in there where you could bring this up and maybe peg it into the back and then take this piece off and have it be a weapon or something like that. That might have been an option. These pieces back here don't bother me as much. They get in the way of the knee articulation, but I feel like with a Core Class figure, I don't need a ton of knee articulation. I would much rather have this piece come up and peg into the back. I think that would have been the better idea for that. But again, it doesn't really ruin her. It just makes her not perfect. She's a very average Core Class figure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.